to work this morning, surprisingly, considering it is summer here. But it's a beautiful, beautiful day. And our initial plan was to head up to an elevated point and show you a view of, there's quite a lot of low-lying mist in some of the valleys this morning. But on our way to the high ground that we were hoping to get to, we came across a few leopard tracks. They looked to be like a male leopard, and they veered off down this road. We have not managed to be able to continue following the exact tracks on the road, so it may have veered off and followed a small trail, but we are heading in the general direction that the leopard was heading in, so we shall see what happens. The general direction we're heading in is towards WildEarth Dam, so that is the initial start to the morning. Welcome everyone. If it's your first time, please feel free to send through questions. Hashtag Safari Live would be your turn. And questions, WildEarth.tv if you'd like. Neil? So, hopefully we have arranged a mechanic to come and have a look today. But it is a Sunday, so it is difficult to get parts, etc. But we have got a mechanic coming out this morning to have a look at Jiga, and hopefully that will work. Sorry, Bryon. So Bryon's on camera today. Myself and Bryon have had a good break yesterday. We had the day off. Not that we needed a break after our last drive together. We spent 3 hours with the quarantine mail. It really was incredible. We spoke a lot about it yesterday. I continue to speak about that drive for a long time. It was very special. So yes, hopefully Jiga is back up and running by this afternoon, but potentially not. All part of the adventure of being in remote locations. When things break, you just have to bend and adapt to the situation. Well, what I'm thinking is, regarding the leopards we saw further back, was that they were heading in the general direction of WildEarth Dam. We know both Quarantine Young Male and Kunyuma like spending time around that dam, so potentially they've just taken a shortcut through the block as opposed to along the road to get there. This is one of the less used tracks that we're just taking now. I'd only driven it once before a few days ago, so it is keeping us closer towards WildEarth Dam and closer towards the direction that those tracks were heading in. And that is the reason why we are following it this morning. There is something exciting about driving the less used tracks. Myself and Bryon were discussing what animal or what sighting we could wish to see this morning, and amongst many wild and weird combinations of animal interactions we discussed, one individual that stood out was the honey badger. So there is a chance of seeing honey badgers here, but in the 3.5 years that I did spend in the Sabi Sands, I've only seen about 4 or 5 different sightings of them. So the chance is there, but not very high. Incredible animals, the honey badgers. They're extremely tough, especially considering their size, and often stand up to much larger adversaries with incredible courage. So that is what we are hoping for. And Alex is in control today. Now we've got 2 Alexes in the team, one of which is a director, and he'll also be doing some presenting in the coming months. So look forward to you guys meeting him on a presenting role, which you will shortly in the next few days, I believe. And then the other Alex is our tech genius, who helps fix all the problems that we have with the technical side of things here. And sadly, Alex, the tech guy, is leaving us today. He's heading back to the city. He's ironed out all the creases in the technological glitch department. So sad to be losing another team member. But Wim, the wildebeest, is back today from a short break, so looking forward to having him back on the team. Okay, good morning, Jill. Jill has just mentioned that she thinks my accent is not typically South African. Now, that could well be the case, but I am South African born and raised, so depending on where you grow up in South Africa, there are slightly different accents between Cape Town and Durban, and depending on whether you are from an Afrikaans or Dutch heritage or an English background. So I'm from an English-speaking background, so that may be one side of the accent that leads you to think that it's not typically South African. Who knows? That is my theory regarding this, but I'm not entirely sure what it is exactly that makes you think that. But I am South African born and raised. I potentially am pronouncing my words in a slightly different tone to ensure that you understand everything that I'm saying, because if I was to speak in my relaxed Durban accent, there would be a risk of you not understanding everything I say, potentially. Interesting though, Jill, and good to have you on board this morning. Okay. So no more sign of tracks of that leopard in this area, but we have veered off quite drastically in relation to where that animal was heading, but that is just the nature of the road network. But we are slowly weaving our way back towards where those tracks were heading now. There's a beautiful bird here, folks. One that I have yet to show you guys personally. So, stand by for some incredible beauty. Now this is a batelier. Currently renamed, I believe, as a short-tailed eagle. The names of birds often do change for a variety of reasons. Taxonomically, they are understanding birds better and being able to break down them into subspecies and kind of fine-tune where their name originates from. So this is the short-tailed eagle, or batelier. It's got beautiful bright red feet and a bright red beak that you'll see when the angle of the sun works in our favor. At this stage of the morning, you often see them in pairs, so there could be another one nearby. There's a glossy starling perched next to it, and we may find that the starling will pester the batelier. A lot of the smaller birds, especially the starlings, are extremely aggressive towards the birds of prey. Even though this specific raptor only feeds on carrion, it doesn't kill its own prey. It relies entirely on carcasses. Unless, I'm sure, in unique scenarios it'll feed on flying ants or termites, reproductive termites. But in general, they are great birds to indicate to us where we may find a kill. It looks like it could take off shortly, but I doubt it. It's still too cool, and a lot of the birds of prey that we see in this area will only become active at around 7:30, 8 o'clock once it has heated up and they can effortlessly ride thermals with a low energy expenditure. Wonderful. I am going to creep forward in the hope that we'll get a more direct angle of sunshine from behind us, and that way you'll get a better view of its colors. So bear with me for a moment as we try and get you into a slightly better position. Hard to tell whether it's a male or a female when it is sitting down, but you can tell judging by the colors on their wings, their wing feathers. Uh-oh. Oh no. That backfired. Sorry about that, folks. That was a female though. Sorry about that. That's frustrating. I really did want to give you a better angle of it with the sun directly behind us. But I'm glad you did get to see that beautiful bird. Hopefully in a few hours' time we'll be able to show you one flying above us and then be able to Also explain how to distinguish between the different genders of battalieurs, or short-tailed eagles as they are also known. A pair of those battalieurs and another raptor, I'm not sure exactly what it was, it could have been a tawny eagle, but I know it was certainly two battalieurs that aided Mark in finding a leopard a few mornings ago. So a good example of how the fact that their presence can lead you to believe that there is a carcass in the area, and when there's a carcass in the area, quite often there'll be a predator alongside it. Okay, this is a good sign, folks. We've found some more leopard tracks. It could well be the same individual whose tracks we had about a mile in that direction, but they were heading towards where we are now, and now he has headed down this road on the right hand side of the road. The tracks look like they are from last night, but hard to tell just from those few that I saw back there how fresh exactly. So I'm just gonna continue to have a look as we roll forward and try and establish how fresh they are. He's now on the left hand side of the road, still heading down. And we are quite close to the Vuyatela Dam, which is where we did say that we thought these tracks may eventually pop out. So far everything is going according to plan, which is wonderful. Now there's sections of road where I cannot see the track simply because the substrate of the road is very hard, but we're just going to continue moseying down in the general direction, and that way just assume that he would continue using this road, a major path or highway for animals to use. For us to follow each and every footstep would take forever, and it would mean that I would be able to give less attention to you guys, obviously, if I'm on and off the vehicle every 5 seconds. Excuse me. There's been no further sign of his tracks for a while now. But that's not too much of a concern, because from the behavior of the leopards in this area, the specific leopards, Kunyuma and Quarantine, that it could be potentially Mvula. We do know that they do come down to this dam, so we'll just scan this area thoroughly now. The beauty about this dam that we're arriving at now, WildEarth Dam, is that it does have a webcam that is monitored 24 hours a day. So if a leopard had have popped down here, we typically get the updates that there has been a visitor, but this morning we haven't had any such updates. Just going to jump off here for 2 seconds and check this major road junction to see if there are any more clues. Okay, sadly, no tracks here. For those of you who did follow Quarantine with myself and Bryon for the drive 2 afternoons ago, would have been a good indicator to you guys how erratically a leopard can move. It can be going in one direction and then all of a sudden do a U-turn and change course completely. So it really is not an easy business tracking these creatures down. And these are the kind of hiding places that they have to disappear into. I wonder where the Egyptian geese are with their little goslings. We've been monitoring a family of Egyptian geese here with 7 little goslings. I'm just going to get my binoculars out so I can see. There they are. 2, 4, 6, 7. So they're all still there. The parents are doing a great job. 7 little youngsters running around there. And then there's a monitor lizard also lying up in the sun, which is to the left. You see that log in the water, Bryon? It's lying on the bank directly to the left of, oh, there's a few logs. I could have been more specific. The log on the left there. Yeah, just on, you can see him there. So there's quite a large water monitor lizard basking in the morning sun, which must be an incredibly good feeling if you are a cold-blooded animal, as it is. No, I don't know if I've just been looking in the wrong places, but at the moment it appears there are no hippos in this dam, which is strange because on a daily basis we view them here, so it could well be that they are all just under the water. Now what I'm doing is also just scanning under all the bushes and places where a leopard may be lying down, just to make sure we've scanned this area as best as we possibly can, because the tracks were heading right here. Well, all seems very peaceful here at the dam, and because of the extremely peaceful surroundings, not that we don't enjoy peaceful and quiet surroundings, we will continue for a little bit more action. Good questions just come through. Alex will give me the name again. I didn't copy that clearly, but somebody has asked that those goslings look fairly exposed out there, and how would the parents keep them safe? The answer to that is that they are highly aggressive, the adults. And Kelly, morning Kelly, thanks very much for that question. And because they are fairly sizable creatures, the adult Egyptian goose, and because of their aggressive nature, they command quite a lot of respect amongst other birds, even the raptors. So if birds of prey do try and catch any of those goslings, the adults will attack them furiously and defend their young furiously. So it is a good question, because they certainly do look vulnerable. And they are. That's why I'm quite surprised that they still have all 7 of them there. So they are doing a good job defending them from birds of prey. That monitor lizard would even try its luck at catching the young gosling. So a number of predators would like to snack on those, but thankfully the parents don't tolerate any nonsense from predators. We are going to move out of the area of these leopard tracks, and the reason being is that once you've driven all of the roads in an area where a leopard has been moving, your next only option would be then to walk thoroughly in the block looking for tracks with an area, and sadly you wouldn't be able to join me on that walk, so we're not going to be able to. But it's good to just know that where a leopard was last moving, it's in that area roughly. It could well have moved past them and we could find it somewhere here, but once you've driven the roads in an area, there's nothing more you can do in this situation. So we'll continue on to another area and see if we can find some more tracks, or even better skip the tracks and just bump into them all. There's a tree that's been attacked, I think, in the last 24 hours by an elephant. It's a knobthorn tree and they are highly persecuted by the elephants. You can notice this specific tree has had its bark stripped off, and it appears that it would have been ring barked, so that cambium layer of bark has been stripped off around the entire circumference of the tree, therefore cutting off the transport system between the roots and the leaves, which will therefore result in this tree dying over the next few months. It will slowly wither away, which, yes, is sad. It's a beautiful big tree. But having said that, it is going to create a microhabitat for small animals to live in and eventually be decomposed and broken down, and those nutrients fed back into the nutrient cycle. I wonder which elephant did that. Would have been nice to see. It is incredible how they use their tusks to pry off the bark, and then they obviously grip on with their trunks, and it peels off relatively easy the bark of a knobthorn tree. Easier than that of a marula, for example, which tends to come off in small chunks. It doesn't peel off as easily, and potentially, or possibly, that's why the elephants enjoy the knobthorn tree, for the simple fact that it is easy to peel off that bark. Apparently there were quite a few questions that came through when we were parked at the dam, asking which tree was the one responsible for the red foliage that you could see in the shot, and that is a tree called the flamboyant. So I'm sorry those questions only got through to me now. I didn't spend much time there, so we couldn't show you a better shot of that tree, but next time I'm there I'll be sure to the flamboyant a little bit more airtime. Considerable amounts of elephant tracks here, as well as the damage they've caused. I'm just going to move these branches out the way quickly. Got to keep our roads clean. free of any obstructions in case we're on a hurry one day. What would be nice is if we found the culprits who did break down that tree. The questions just come through from Brenda. Morning, Brenda. How are you doing? Brenda's asked whether we'll be doing a fireside chat this evening, and the answer to that is yes. I'm very excited. It will be my first fireside chat, and depending on what happens with the vehicles this morning with Jigger, if it does manage to get fixed, then Mark will also be out on drive this afternoon, which will be great, and then we'll make a plan to facilitate the fireside chat. But either way, we'll both be there. Myself and Mark will be at the fireside chat this evening, and I thoroughly look forward to it. Every time we go past that campfire now and I see it, I have fond memories of when Hayden and Peter did their fireside chats a couple of weeks back, and Kunyuma climbed up the tree right behind them. I mean, it was incredible, absolutely incredible. So that's something that I will always remember when we go past that place or have a fireside chat. It's going to be hard to top that in terms of a guest appearance. And for those of you who are new and are not aware of what the fireside chat is, basically after this evening's drive, which is from 4 o'clock till 7 o'clock our time, we'll head directly to a fireside chat for 1 hour, and that's basically an opportunity to recap what's happened over the last week and answer any questions that you guys would like to ask that are more typically campfire tale related, not necessarily related to what we may be looking at the time, which is more the case when we are on drive. We tend to try and field questions that are relative to what is going on the drive, whereas the fireside chat gives you the opportunity to ask a few questions that aren't necessarily related to what's going on immediately, but potentially our past and different places we've been to and tales from our time in various wilderness areas. So that's for 1 hour from 7 o'clock to 8 o'clock our time. basically directly after the evening drive. There's a little squirrel that's just run across the road, and it'll be interesting to try and see if we can keep an eye on it and see what it's up to this morning. I think it is going to run back across the road, I'm hoping, in the direction it came from, and that way we'll get a... oh no, it's going the complete other way, but it is in the open. Oh, there's two of them. Cool. So we'll just keep an eye on them and see what they're up to this morning. That was a big male. It'll only be a few more weeks until we see them. Oh, he's eating little flowers. Look at that. Breakfast of champions. I'm not sure exactly what they are from here, but they're small purple flowers that he's feeding on. Awesome. I'll try and have a closer look as we go past to establish what flowers they were exactly. I'm looking for a few closer by, but it's specifically those purple flowers that he is feeding on. It could be... I'm actually not even sure. Mark is an absolute wizard when it comes to wildflowers, so I may have a quick chat with him, but I'd like to stay with these squirrels a bit longer and watch what else they feed on. They do seem fairly relaxed with us, so we'll try and make the most of this. Oh, not easy subjects to film. They're covering quite a large piece of ground in a short time while they are feeding. Here's some of these purple flowers here. I'm just going to have a closer look. But sadly I do not know exactly what they are. Like I say, Mark is a real wizard, so I'm going to have to ask him for that, or get out the old flower book. The questions just come through from Gloria asking if I've ever been to the Masai Mara, and the answer to that is yes. I've spent 2 years in Kenya and Tanzania, or East Africa, where I did manage to see some of the beautiful wilderness destinations in those parts, and the Masai Mara was one of them. It's an incredible place. It really is. I was there during the migration. Now it depends on what time of the year you go to East Africa. You would plan to go to either Tanzania or Kenya to see the migration, but it's continually moving. So depending on what time of the year you would like to go on safari, you would need to pick your country accordingly. The Masai Mara is in full swing kind of from September, October, November, August, September, October, November. But it does vary from year to year when the wildebeest arrive and when they leave into the Mara, which is in Kenya. and then the majority of the time they're spending in the Serengeti, which heads south from the Masai Mara into Tanzania. And hopefully WildEarth will be up in Kenya at some stage in the future. It is certainly the possibility, and it would be an incredible place to broadcast live safaris from, because there's an incredible amount of action that goes on there at certain times of the year, especially when the migration is passing through. Here we are at Treehouse Dam. With our colony of village weaver birds. Who are furiously active in the morning. We tend to find, but less so in the afternoon. A beautiful chorus of different birds calling this morning. Incredibly intricate design, these weavers, and the nests they build. It appeared to take about 3 days for them to complete a nest, or at least one individual that I monitored closely. Which I think's quite a short period of time, considering how many individual blades of grass need to be woven together to create these complex little structures. Where are all the animals hiding today? Well, would you believe it? A male leopard, another male, it appears, walked here last night. Just seen his tracks that head down this road just in front of us and appear to continue straight over the dam wall. Where are you now? That is the question. So, I'm just going to turn around and see if we can't establish where his tracks go on the other side of this dam wall. I'm fairly convinced he either headed down to the water to drink and then continued, but they were certainly heading in this direction. I'm just going to be off the vehicle for a minute or two, folks, to try and establish where he may have headed from here. No luck, sadly. Well, the leopards certainly have been moving around Djuma last night, judging by the amounts of tracks we've seen this morning. This is a pretty little scene we have in front of us. A bachelor herd of impala and some helmeted guinea fowl. The birds you can hear in the background are called arrow-marked babblers, and babbling they certainly are this morning. Who knows, maybe this leopard is hiding in a bush right here, keeping an eye on these impala, just like we are. It certainly isn't out of the question that this could be the case. The high-pitched shriek of a call that you heard earlier was a parrot. A brown-headed parrot, which is obviously not too far away, but you can hear it. There we go. Now sadly they are quite secretive birds and we don't often get to show you them, but that is their call, and there will come a time where we get to show you them. It's just sadly not frequently that we do get a good viewing of those parrots. We certainly hear them more often than we see them. Bryon, where are we going to go? Are we going to go down Philemon's Cut Line or down Shabam Road?
Philemon's Cut Line.
There we go. That was the correct answer. I sometimes test Bryon to see whether he knows the correct route we should be taking, just to make sure he's completely focused back there, and he certainly is. I'm only kidding, folks, it's a lottery out here. It really is, so we're going to try get that roller, yeah. So there's a lilac-breasted roller that's just landed in this tree in front of us, this marula tree. They really are exquisite birds. And I'm hoping to show you their cousin, the European roller, which has arrived. They arrived about a week ago, the first one I saw, and I've seen a handful since then. Bryon managed to do a great job panning alongside one as it flew off to catch an insect a few days ago, so let's see if we don't get lucky again. They do perch themselves up on elevated positions like this and wait until they see a little bit of a movement in the grass and then swoop down to catch their prey. And when they are flying, you do get to see their real beauty, because a lot of their brightest colors are in their wing feathers. So let's see if this one performs a little acrobatic show for us. There it goes. Oh. Not an easy job following them. No. It did manage to catch a little something or other, but so difficult to film. So it's 1-1 with Bryon versus the lilac-breasted roller. The last one he managed to capture the hunt this time he got stumped, so 1-all. We'll have to keep track of this. Lots of elephant movements on this road. Probably the early hours of last night, there appeared to be quite a few impala tracks on top of them. A few tracks here. I'm just trying to establish what happened. It appears that something may have been dragged down this road, and by something being dragged, it's typically a piece of carcass, or it could also be the elephants in this case. So what's confusing me, and I'll just get out and try and explain this to you. So here you can see what has been dragged. Okay, so down this one line something has been dragged, and over here we have hyena footprints, but over here we have an elephant footprint. So what I think has happened is that the elephant has been dragging its trunk down the road, and then subsequently a hyena walked down and led me to believe that the hyena could be dragging something, but it in fact was the elephant simply dragging its trunk or a small branch. But a drag mark is a very useful track to see on the roads to help us find kills, especially a leopard, for example, may make a kill but need to drag it in a certain direction to get to a tree that within which it can hoist the kill. So just thought I'd explain the rationale behind my investigation there. It's incredible how many hyena tracks you see. You see them on almost every road you drive on, and it's not necessarily because there's a lot of hyena, but it's simply because they cover such huge distances looking for potential meals. every evening. But almost every road you drive down, you'll find hyena tracks, which can be misleading because they do, at a glance or from a distance, look fairly similar to that. I've noticed in this area a few times, and it is flittering around in that dead knobthorn tree. It is very far from you now, but I'm just trying to, let's see, similar to one another. I was just hoping to get a better look in order to be able to positively identify whether it was the African or common cuckoo that we were seeing there. Just heard a fish eagle cry out above us. There it is. It's far away, but I am going to hazard us stopping to try and get you to hear its call if it does call again. It's a beautiful call. Well done, Bryon. It's very high up in the sky, as you can see. Very similar looking eagle to the bald eagle, which you get in America. It's our kind of African equivalent. But that gives you a perspective of how high and far away it is as soon as Bryon panned out. And sadly it didn't call again, but well done, Bryon, on managing to find that. Okay. I'm hoping some lion are going to pass a visit soon. They've been avoiding us over the last few days. But that is normal. They cover such big areas, lion, that it's not uncommon for us to go a few days without seeing any on our property. But like I say, it tends to work itself out that every few days they come back for a visit. Okay, well, we are very close to the hyena den site now, so it was an initial plan this morning to go there before we found the initial sets of leopard tracks, so we may as well pop in there now. Now, we're not sure if these hyena have moved den sites officially. We haven't been spending too much time here over the last few days, but the few times that we have been here hasn't been as active as it usually is, so there is potential that they've moved off to another den, which is common. Every few weeks they alter their den sites, thus getting a fresh burrow and fresh den in which to live, and let Mother Nature take care of the housekeeping of old dens for a few weeks, and then by the time they return, all of the fleas and ticks and excrement that was left there would have usually been cleared out by all the decomposers, and I suppose lack of inhabitants would also help get rid of any of the parasites. Well, at first glance it appears like nobody is home, sadly. The last time we were here, we saw one adult, and she did leave from the area of this termite mound that they have been using as their den. So who knows exactly what is going on there. What I do know, and last time we were here we established that hyenas may have moved off, but a pair of red-billed oxpeckers are using a dead tree nearby as their nest. They nest in cavities and trees, so I spotted them last time we were here. It'll be interesting to spend a minute or two waiting and watching whether they do come back to their nest to feed their chicks or incubate their chicks. I'm not sure if they've hatched yet. Just going to turn the vehicle around and we'll spend a few minutes waiting. Potentially we could hear some hyena audio from nearby. They typically don't move too far from a current dense side to the next. That sometimes have about 4 or 5 that they move between, but all usually in a relatively small radius of one another. This is going to be difficult because the lighting is not ideal, but there's this dead tree on our right hand side. It's an old knobthorn tree, and they are using a cavity within it to raise their young. Just trying to work out where. Okay, if you follow, yeah, that, and then the left one, and then the right, you see they're in there, they're in that, the end of that right hand branch. It's hard to see, but there is a cavity at the top of that right hand top branch within which I saw them heading into. Oh, awesome, here's the oxpecker. It's landed in the tree. They're both here. Well, that's a luck. So they've both just come back. Now, let's wait a moment or two and see if they head down into their nest. I'm guessing they will. Well, didn't we get lucky that they've come back just as we've arrived? No, they're kind of playing dead, acting like, oh, we're just perching on a branch, nothing to see here. But we already know, my little oxpecker friends, that you have got a nest in this tree. So let's see if they show us exactly where it is. It's interesting how highly specialized these red-billed oxpeckers are, and they do have a cousin, the yellow-billed oxpecker, which we see occasionally from time to time in this area. But between the two oxpeckers that you do get, what an incredible adaptation that they've gone through to feed on the ectoparasites that cause so much harm to the herbivores in this area. Come on guys, show us into your nest, and then we'll leave. If you can hear a chewing noise, that's me chewing on my breakfast. It's not a hyena chewing on the tire of the car. Oh, the one oxpecker left. I didn't see where it went. Who knows, maybe it flew. Did you see where it went, Bryon?
Yeah, it went into the distance.
Okay, not into the hole. It would be really nice if it did go into the hole, because and that nest cavity, because if it did go in and there were chicks, we would certainly hear the chicks chirping and calling and trying to outcompete one another for any morsels that the adult may be feeding to them. So we would certainly hear a little commotion going on if the adult did land there and the chicks had hatched. Oh, coming closer. It's coming closer to the hole. So the hole that it needs to go into now, folks, is on the branch on the right hand side of the screen closest towards us. And it's slowly creeping towards it. Come on. Come on. We come in peace. We're not going to disturb your babies. We know they're in there, so don't try and hide it from us. Here he goes, or she, trying to be as sly about it as possible. This is awesome. Come on. There we go. So now it's very close, folks. There's the cavity. It's poking its head into it, and there we go. That is where the oxpecker is nesting. And I'm just going to listen closely. I can't seem to hear any commotion, which leads us to believe that they are still incubating these eggs. As soon as the chicks hatch, you tend to hear quite a lot of noise coming out from them when the adults return. Who would have thought, though, folks, driving past this tree, that there are a pair of red-billed oxpeckers nesting in it? I mean, from this angle you can hardly even tell that there's a cavity in that branch. So, and again, it just reaffirms how important elephants' roles are in this ecosystem. By killing trees, they are creating microhabitats. So the exact same tree we looked at initially this morning, a knobthorn acacia, which had been ring-barked and stripped of its bark by elephants, and will die and eventually look like this, and then become home to other birds and mammals. So I think that worked out quite well, folks. We achieved what we set out to achieve. Our plan B, after the hyena failed, at least we could fall back on the red-billed oxpecker's nest, and now every time we come here we can keep an ear out and an eye out and see whether these chicks start to make a noise soon, and therefore lead us to believe that they've obviously hatched. And then once they have hatched, it'll be interesting to keep an eye on them and see how long it takes them to fledge and fly off, and how many of them survive. Good. Now, judging by how long the adults have stayed in there, I'm not sure if it's the male or the female, but either way, because it's been in there for quite a long time, you can safely assume that it is incubating the eggs. So one's gone off to feed, one's incubating. They'll probably take turns in doing this throughout the course of the day. Wonderful. Good work, Bryon, on camera. As always, showing you guys the best shots we possibly can get you out here. That is the beauty of spending day in and day out in an ecosystem like this. You get to understand and know strange little ongoings such as that really do keep it interesting and exciting, especially if the bigger animals and typical stars of the show are not available, which today is the case. They seem to be avoiding us, all the usual suspects. Okay folks, so now I've given Bryon a chance to choose which way we head, and now it's up to you guys, the viewers. So in the road junction ahead we are going to have three options. One will be to head down Zoe's Road, the other will be to head down Balanites Road, and the third option would be to head down Rebecca's Road. Now, whichever Twitter tweet comes in first, tweeting Twitter, we will follow your advice. So, send through either Balanites, Rebecca's or Zoe's, and I'll wait for Alex to give me the call, because I'm at a loss for what to do now. We need to outsource this and get some external help on the matter. Alex, are you still there? Okay. Balanites Road, Rebecca's Road or Zoe's Road? Please tell us which one to take. Stephanie, thank you very much for helping us with this decision. Rebecca's Road it is. Morning Stephanie, and welcome. We followed the quarantine mail along Rebecca's Road for a period, of the afternoon. Couple of days back, so maybe he's around again. I think we might have to get out the lucky porcupine quill. For those of you who don't know, this porcupine quill has magical powers. It's not a regular porcupine quill. It's been blessed by several different people. Bryon's gonna give it a touch. Stephanie, we're gonna let it touch Stephanie, who let us choose this road, or helped us to choose Rebecca's Road. And now, with Stephanie's help and with the help of the porcupine quill, something is surely bound to happen. I'm almost a little bit nervous as to what could happen next. Possibly a snake will fall out of the tree onto the vehicle. That would be exciting. I would be able to jump out and run, but Bryon would have to man the camera, so he would be in a tricky position, because it's those exciting moments that the cameramen are expected to capture and not be afraid of. So Somebody did ask about that the other day, whether a snake has ever fallen into the vehicle, and I'm sure it has happened to other safari guides, but I have yet to have that happen to me. So a little bit more history behind the porcupine quill. Hayden found it. Hayden Turner, who was a presenter alongside Peter Pretorius before myself and Mark took over from them, and he found this porcupine quill early on his time here on Juma and Arathusa, and noticed that when he needed a bit of luck and he pulled it out, it did tend to turn the tables, turn the tides. And he's then handed it over to myself and Mark to use for the remaining few months here, and then we will return it to him because it will be going to his son Jack. And then who knows where it'll end up on safari after this little African adventure. But looking forward to following its movements and the luck it brings along the way. So it was exactly here that we last saw the quarantine male. On this tree on our right hand side here, he lay down and he was stalking some impala which were further up ahead, but sadly he didn't have any luck with them. They were about 50 meters back up the road, and he lay just at the base of this tree before crossing that way in an easterly direction and ending up in the quarantine clearings. It really was a beautiful scene when he stalked from a few meters away alongside the vehicle and then lay up at the base of those trees. I really am hoping to show you guys a African rock python sooner rather than later. They're beautiful, beautiful snakes. And this is the time of year to see snakes, so hopefully it won't be too much longer before we get to show you one. I had a great sighting of a black mamba yesterday, interestingly enough. I was actually just going for a casual run around the perimeter of the camp where we stay, and about 10 meters in front of me I noticed a large serpent slithering through the grass, and it was a black mamba. It was probably about 2.5 meters long and about that thick, so a good size. They get to 3 meters, just over 3 meters. But it was a large individual, and it surprisingly didn't notice me. So I got to watch it sniffing about and looking for potential prey for a few minutes before it carried on, and I carried on unscathed, thankfully. They are scary snakes, the black mambas, just in terms of their appearance, and also the fact that we do know that if they do bite us, we're going to have to rush off to hospital. Their venom's highly neurotoxic. But thankfully, I mean, considering the amounts of time spent out in the bush, snake bites are few and far between. Now I can't help myself, but we are just going to check a little riverbed just a few meters away from us here, and then probably change direction and head back down this road. But the reason why I would like to check this riverbed is because this is where we found Quarantine the other day. Now the chances of him being here again are very slim, but I just have an urge to check if he is not lying in a cool shady spot in this riverbed. If he is, it would be a miracle. That is why I'm not surprised that he's not. He was lying up just in there a few days ago when we found him. So from here, folks, the plan is to meander on down to Twin Dams. It's quite a nice snake track crossing the road. I'm not sure if it'll be possible for you to see, but we'll at least try and show you.
I can't see it.
If you just zoom in, I'll talk you through it, Bryon. Yeah, kind of right in the middle of the shot you can see. Now if you pan to the left, there we go. So you can see a slight slithering motion, and if you just pan right across to the right, it crosses directly across the road. So you can kind of see, I'm hoping, a small slithering action there. It becomes clearer of a snake slithering across the road. And we so often do see these tracks of snakes moving across the roads, but I guess they sense the vibrations of the vehicles and tend to be out of sight before we get to them. Regarding the fireside chat, because a fireside chat in the rain is not an ideal scenario. Anyway, it's too soon to panic, and there can even be storms brewing, guaranteed storm clouds brewing in the south, and they could miss us by a kilometer or two if it is serious. But at the moment, nothing to worry about. Droppings on the road. So they have been around here recently. Droppings by about lunch will be completely flat and scratch through, so fine to feed. So it is from last night, that elephant dropping. Bald eagles being one of them. Yellowstone National Park and all the animals that you find within it would be an incredible place to go. A friend of mine has been there and she raved about it. And I've seen a short clip on how the world, that little crash we just experienced. So yes, America does have some incredible wilderness destinations, and I would love to spend some time there in the future. And Yellowstone is one of the parks that I would like to go to. So just to reiterate, the question was, which American wildlife would I like to see? And there's obviously so much that you do get in America, the bears being one of the main animals that we don't get here in Africa, and all the way down to pronghorn, the antelope which you get. So there are a lot of animals that I would like to see there, and if I could choose one destination at this stage, it would probably be Yellowstone National Park. To see the wolves running free there, the bison, would be an incredible opportunity, or an incredible experience. So one day I will get there. The beauty of conservation and safari and guiding is that it can take you to all different parts of the world. Most countries do have wilderness areas of varying degrees, all with different animals and different flora. So it is something that I love about this industry, and there are a lot of countries where I would like to end up in the next few years, exploring the different habitats that are out there. But any advice you guys have for me, or any feedback or special animals that you do see over there that I may not be aware of, would be interesting to hear what you would like to show me, as opposed to if you could show me one animal in America, what would it be? As opposed to me choosing which one I could see. If you could choose one animal to show me, what would it be? Well, there don't appear to be any animals here, but what I am going to do is check this tree, which has been used as a rubbing post. So animals will come and mud wallow in the dam, cover themselves with mud, and then come and rub against these various trees to peel off all the ectoparasites. And sometimes, if you're lucky, you can actually find a small tick caked in the mud within on the tree. So let me go and have a look if I can find anything interesting. There's some elephant hairs, which I'll come and show you a bit closer. Can you see that, Bryon?
Yep.
Can you hear me?
Yep. Speak loudly.
Hairs. I think possibly buffalo. Possibly buffalo, judging by how low it is. But you do get small elephants that will rub up against trees. But judging from the height, possibly also buffalo. Yeah, this is buffalo, sorry, not elephants. Sadly, no ticks, which are the ectoparasites that the animals do whatever they can in their power to get off them. But a few little hairs. Whew, it is cooking, folks. All of a sudden, the sun's rays are beating down on us. Oh! Okay, well, there's just been a list of animals sent through by us, and thanks so much. Black bears hunting on the salmon run, that is something I'd love to see. A diamondback rattler, another one I'd love to see. Wild horses, that sounds good. And surprisingly enough, the Bigfoots. Now that I would also like to see. I believe they're very rare, but if any of you do know of where they can be seen on a regular basis, please send some photos and evidence of Bigfoot sightings. A Bigfoot would be a scary animal to see. It would be an interesting animal to track, I guess, because of the size of their feet. It would be easy, I guess, to track a Bigfoot. Yeah, or potentially very difficult because the stride between the footprints would be large, I guess. Okay, well, for those of you who are joining for the first time, I will come clean and admit my addiction to riverbeds. So it is what it is, but occasionally you will find yourself driving through a riverbed with myself and Bryon. It's just such beautiful scenery, and one day we will bump into a leopard in one of these riverbeds, and that is something that we will all thoroughly enjoy. It's such a beautiful scene to see them in and setting. The other nice thing about the riverbeds is that because of the tracks from the tires, you don't actually have to steer. The car steers for itself and drives itself, which is quite nice, so we can just relax and chat. In the seat, it is not the best angle for me to spot anything that could elevation to look up onto the riverbanks, because when I am down in the seat, it is not the best angle for me to spot anything that could be lying on the banks. Aha, Sharon has just put through some very good information saying that I should go to Florida because it is one of the few places where we could see a manatee, or a dugong I think is its other name. And that again is another animal that I would thoroughly love to see and have yet to see other than in documentaries. We were driving down this riverbed a few days ago following a herd of elephant that we watched drink at Twin Dams here, and then they've continued down into the riverbed, and we followed them. It was probably 100 meters ahead of us here that monkey started alarm calling quite insistently, and myself and Alex, the tech guy who's sadly leaving us today, we had to do some hardcore off-roading in order to be able to get out of the riverbed and into the area where those monkeys were looking, but didn't come up with anything, sadly. So we've got 1 hour left. I have been listening to the radio. Other game viewers also haven't had too much luck this morning. So nice and cool down here, folks, which is nice for us and also nice for any potential animal that may be wanting to avoid the heat that we are experiencing today. I need to assist with a bit of here. Thankfully we've got our accelerator stick here, which helps us to accelerate when not seated in the driver's seat, but seated in the door. I've just heard a noise that I am going to go back to investigate. It sounded like either branches breaking or potentially bones cracking. And bones cracking means predator eating. And predator eating is usually something quite interesting to see. Red-chested cuckoo. You hear that, Bryon? Oh no, it's a bird.
Woodpecker.
Could be a woodpecker, or it could be a puffback shrike doing part of its call. That sounds like a branch breaking. False alarm. Next few months. Another porcupine quill. It's considerably bigger than Hayden's one. Not that size matters, but what we're going to do is we are going to allow them to join forces, and collectively they are going to bring us incredible sightings.
Double the effectiveness.
Yes, double luck. Stand by. Cool. Well, wouldn't it be nice to see a porcupine one night when they're out foraging food? Sadly, because they are nocturnal and we don't operate too long after dark, it does make seeing them difficult. Very interesting looking creature. Let's see what this red-billed hornbill's up to on the road ahead of us here. We may see it doing a little bit of hunting. They're such comical birds. And hunting it certainly is. Let's keep an eye on it. Insects, small lizards, small rodents are all prey items that they'll feed on. So you can see how he's tilting his head from side to side, looking in the grass for any prey. They also eat chameleons, hornbills. Now, as much as I love hornbills, I also love chameleons, so it's kind of a tricky one when you see a hornbill flying past with a chameleon in its beak. But that is nature. It's the same for the cute baby impala and the leopard that feed on them. Just keep an eye on this hornbill and see what he finds to feed on next. Maybe he's just flown up to the small vantage point to... Oh, there we go. What have you seen down there? I love the way they hop and walk. Now there's a lot of people watching you, Mr. Hornbill, so this is your time to shine, to make an impressive kill. It's getting broadcasted to many people all around the world. Oh, there we go. It ate something, but it was tiny, whatever it was. And also not hugely surprising that he's performing the majority of his craziest stunts behind the foliage, but now he's back out again. Ooh, certainly went for something there. Let's see if he shows us whatever it was that he... No, seemed like it was an unsuccessful strike. Oh, there we go, a little grasshopper. That'll do. It's incredible how quickly it strikes down on those prey items. I mean, it's essentially like us trying to catch a grasshopper between two fingers or with a pair of tweezers. Not easy at all, but it made it look easy there. Oh, I'm not sure what that was that he picked up there, but he did pick up something small on the road. That noise that we can hear, which sounds like two marbles clanging against one another, is a bird with a very interesting name. It's a green-backed Cameroptera, as far as I'm aware. There is another one that sounds very similar to that, the Tawny Frankprilia, but in this case I think it is the green-backed Cameroptera, which is a mouthful. Let's see if we can stay with this hornbill for a little bit longer. Still is hunting actively. It really would be nice to see it make a kill of a decent size. Something that it actually does have to kill to feed on rather than just swallowing whole. When they find beetles and slightly bigger prey with harder exoskeletons, they obviously have to bash them and soften them up a bit before they can swallow them. So that would be nice to see. But this individual seems to be... oh, something else small. They really do just come across as such joyful, happy animals. The hornbills. Oh, it seems like that's the end of the show, the hornbill show. But it was a good show nonetheless while it lasted. So this is the same riverbed that we were in earlier. We're just further upstream of where we were when we were riding inside it. And now this road will just take us alongside the riverbed for a short distance, but again it's just keeping us in a nice cool area, in an area that we haven't worked this morning, so hopefully there's something here that we don't know about. What I do know is that there's an African harrier hawk's nest up ahead shortly, so we'll try and show you the adults in the nest if it is there. We are going to have to spend some time with these birds to get them relaxed with the vehicle, because they tend to fly off whenever we get close, but if we just invest some time with them and show them that we aren't posing a threat to them, it should be okay. there goes the adult. It just flew out the nest. So there it's landed. That is the African harrier hawk, who is nesting in a torchwood tree. Those are Jacobin's cuckoos that flew past that you could hear calling. So I think if we approach this nest from the other angle, we may be able to stop further away and be able to show the adults in the nest before it takes off. But let's just spend a little bit of time here and see if it doesn't by any chance come back to continue. I'm guessing incubating the eggs. Nope, it's headed off even further. But what Bryon can do now is he can just pan across to the torchwood tree that they are nesting in. They make quite a haphazard nest out of sticks in the fork of the tree. And as we stopped, it poked up its head and flew out in the same motion. But that there is a corner of the nest. As you can see on the right hand side of the screen, there's a few other little twigs, so it does extend across the fork of that tree. Wouldn't it be nice to get a camera up there monitoring the growth of the youngsters? With birds of prey, they often give birth or lay 2 eggs, and often both do hatch, but the first to hatch is often the one that outcompetes the second sibling, and the second sibling will often die or be kicked out of the nest. But what that does is that it ensures that the one surviving chick gets its parents' full attention. Just going to stop here and just double check that we can't see a little baby's head poking out the top of that nest. It is possible. But no, from this angle we cannot see any sign of life in there, so possibly still in the egg phase. Ah, wonderful. There's a tiny baby giraffe up around the next corner, folks. It's quite thick, but we will be able to show it to you. Oh, no ways. It's so cute. Cool. Cool, cool, cool. Now, going to hope that we can actually find a little gap in this thick foliage to show it to you. Looks like we've got the little opportunity here to head off the road a little bit. then, okay, well, I'm just going to start off with this shot, which isn't ideal, but just to make sure you all have got an idea of what we're dealing with. Now, we almost, you can tell by the angle of the camera that we're kind of eye level with it, which means it is small, because giraffe are born at about 2 meters in height, so that's roughly the height that Bryon's camera is elevated at. Now that it's relaxed a little bit with our presence, so I'm going to continue to probe in here and see if we can't get a better angle, which I think we will be able to. Oh, there's the mother up ahead. Cute. Okay. So we've got a whole family here. A big male, the mother, and a young calf. But we will show you all of them shortly. Well, when I said this was a young calf, it is young, but possibly a month or a few months old. Not within the last week or two. Okay, now interestingly here, if you watch the mother closely here, she is browsing on these leaves, so currently eating as we speak. Okay, now that food will go into her stomach, be partly digested, and then be regurgitated up into the mouth as cud, and then she'll chew on it again, and that way it will make its way through the 4-chambered stomach. But if we go back to the calf, we'll notice that the calf is busy ruminating. So it's standing by that bush, but not actually feeding on any of the leaves. And you'll notice that once okay, so now it's just swallowed. Now, if Bryon can get as tight as he can in onto the head, okay, now it started chewing again. So now this youngster is chewing the cud, and it'll continue to chew this little ball for a few seconds, and then we'll notice it stop and swallow. And if we watch closely, you can even see the next bolus of cud coming up the throat tract, the trachea, back into the mouth. So let's watch this closely and see if we can't see it all happen. So it looks like it's about to finish and swallow this mouthful. Nearly there. Keep watching closely. Okay, there it's swallowed. Now watch closely. You'll see the next ball coming back up. Boink! Huh? There it is. Oh! And here we have the mother. I hope you got to see that, folks. We can try again if you didn't, but you can literally see that next bolus of cud working its way up its throat into the mouth. Let's see if it does it again for us here. She's just scratching her neck. Just picked a good tree for that. Also little spines to relieve those itchy parts of the body. Okay. Has it swallowed, or is it just focused on scratching? No, it's focused on scratching now. This is a very interesting technique. Oh, an oxpeck has arrived. It's all happening here. It's almost like it's performing some kind of a dance move. You could have some fun speeding this up and slowing it down on an editing machine. Mix in some music. So the females walk past, and now there's a big male that's also about to walk past. He's a beautiful male. He's got a very dark coat. Not to take anything away from the youngster's dancing abilities, it's nice to give you a size perspective there of a youngster versus an adult bull. Wouldn't it be nice if we could just go over there and scratch its neck for it? Because it seems like it really is battling to get the right spot there. It may have to change its tree, its rubbing tree, for something else. Here comes the big male, towering over it. Incredible. Sure. All the oxpeckers seem to be giving the youngster the most attention, which is interesting. Possibly the youngster has more parasites on it due to it having softer skin. Still that same spot kind of midway up the neck that seems to be bothering it the most. I'm just watching very closely to see if it doesn't start chewing the cud again, keeping a very close eye on that throat. But no, the scratching is still the task it is focused on mostly at the moment. It really must be bothering the giraffe, whatever it is, this certain itch. It's been here for a few minutes now trying the same maneuver in order to relieve itself, but doesn't seem to be having much luck. Now it is finally deciding to chew on a few of these leaves. Initially it was just chewing the cud, then it got onto some neck scratching. Now it's had a little nibble and back to neck scratching. So it's just such a funny motion to watch it perform. It appears to have slowly worked its way up the neck towards the head. Systematic scratching approach. Really fortunately for us, this is the first time it's moved since we've got here, so that's made for great shots and easy work from our side without having to maneuver to show you it in all its glory. But now it does appear to be following its mother, following behind, keeping relatively close to it. Beautiful. I'm just gonna try and get ahead of it again between where its mother is and where it is now. That way we'll hopefully get another good view of it. There we go. Reposition one more time, and that way we should get a good view. Oh, wonderful. Little slow motion giraffe trots. It looks like the mother's also just come across to touch base with the youngster. Well, beautiful sighting, folks. This is the calf and the mother we can see, and then slightly to the right we've got the big male, who's probably following behind this female, knowing that she may come into season soon. Even though she's got this youngster, she will breed relatively shortly in order to make sure the next generation is on the way. Nice to compare the length of the youngster's black tail relative to the mother's. She's got a long way to go before her fly swish is as smart as her mother's. And here comes the male also. He's going to display his fly swatter, which is also a lot larger than that of the calves for obvious reasons. Beautiful, beautiful tail. Beautiful, Bryon. Great shot. That was thoroughly enjoyable to watch. You'll notice the back of those, the top of those horn-like structures are bald. This is a very good indicator that he is the male. So these horn-like structures will be thinner on a female, and the female will have hair on the top of hers. So very similar to humans. It's typically the men who go bald and the women who still have a full head of hair as the years pass by. Interesting, I wonder what he was sniffing on those branches there of a small dead leadwood tree. Possibly where the female brushed against it. Their sense of smell is so vital in helping them determine which males or which females are in season, or who's been around, who's been in town. Well, that was a wonderful giraffe sighting. I think it was our second mammal of the day, or second large mammal of the day. We started with impala a few hours ago, and since then it's been very quiet. Okay, so now we've only got about just over 10 minutes left. And I just want to head back towards Vuyatela Dam to see if there isn't any sign of whichever leopard was lurking in that area last night. We know that because of tracks, that there was a leopard in that area. birth, and there was some warthog that ran off through the bush then. That's why the mother's looking so intently in that direction, unless there's also something else. But I did see a warthog running off. Obviously a hugely dangerous stage of this young impala's life, and the mother knows this. So possibly born within the last 24 hours. I can see the umbilical cord is still completely flexible. Well, they are in a dangerous area, this. Even though we're in a bit of a clearing here, there's a lot of very thick vegetation surrounding it, and it's vegetation that we know leopard pass through on a fairly consistent basis. How cute though, this little calf. It's a bit of a late addition to the impala population of the Sabi Sands. Most of the youngsters have already been born or walk. Oh, despite being young, it can still move quickly. That was good to see though, another little baby impala. New addition, like I said, the mother will rejoin with the herd shortly and then regain that safety and numbers status. Just want to make sure there wasn't anything else hiding here that may not have been the warthog that I saw running off. Beautiful clouds in the sky today for now, not looking too dodgy in terms of rain. So hopefully they're just going to keep us cool. And their parents. It's incredible how quickly those little guys can swim. They keep up with the they keep up with the parents. No problem whatsoever. And they do know to stay closely bunched together, close to the parents. One of the viewers earlier did ask how the parents protect these vulnerable youngsters from any predators, and they are very aggressive in the defense of their young. They fly out and confront any potential attackers. And it's just shallow enough there for the youngsters to stand, which is cute. Like I said earlier this morning, we have counted the number 7 from the first time we did view them, so they've had 100% strike rates in terms of successful raising of their young. And wouldn't it be nice to watch all 7 of them grow up together? The odds are stacked against them, and there was also one with an injured leg. It does appear to be smaller than the rest of them. But so far they are all looking good. Well folks, it's been a little bit of a quiet morning, but that's how it is out here. Sometimes we get spoiled rotten and other days it's a little bit more difficult, but always enjoyable. There's always interesting little different things to look at and monitor. The red-billed oxpecker's nest was a highlight today to confirm that they are indeed nesting in that dead knobthorn tree at the hyena den site. And then also to see the African harrier hawk nest. So we've been doing a lot of nest monitoring this morning. Ooh, that was a catfish that came up quite close to the geese there, and hence their reaction to it. They got a little bit worked up. That would have just been a catfish, but I think passing close by through default rather than anything else. Although you will get catfish big enough to swallow one of those chicks whole. I'm not sure if they are big enough in this dam, but there could well be one big enough in here. So for this afternoon's drive, at this stage, as far as I know, it will just be me out on drive this afternoon, but hopefully Jiga does get fixed. If not, Mark will still join for the fireside chats, which we are going to be having after the evening drive this evening for 1 hour, weather permitting. But like I say, so far the weather does look good. It can change very quickly here though. In the space of a few hours the weather can turn on its head, but for now we have nothing to worry about. And I'd just like to thank all of you again for joining on Safari, and to Bryon for his good camera work. I think Bryon's shot of the day was panning up the big giraffe's tail and back and neck all the way up to the head, so I really enjoyed that shot that Bryon did, and thanks Bryon always for your hard work out here. And to all the questions and advice on American animals like the Bigfoot and the manatee, animals that I do need to go and see at some stage. Thanks for that advice, and I hope you enjoyed your morning. Like I said, it was a little bit quiet, but that's how it is, and this afternoon that could all very well change. So let's hold thumbs, and we'll see you guys a bit later. Have a wonderful day or morning or night, depending on where you are, and we'll leave you to enjoy the Egyptian geese and their family for the last few seconds. Oh, there's some buffalo coming down. So you can have a look at the buffalo coming down to drink just before we close out. But have a wonderful day, and thanks for joining.